So then Zack Snyder's a fascist? When did I say that? He definitely does some... nah, he's not a fascist, no. There's definitely some stuff that he does and says that I think is indicative of problematic political values. Though I don't remember much about the specifics. It's some older stuff. I don't think I've ever seen anything about him being a fascist, though. He's a fan of Ayn Rand. Well, Zack Snyder's a weird guy. He said geeks and gamers are racist. Yeah, I don't think Zack Snyder's like a Nazi or whatever. Zack Snyder hates Ayn Rand. I'm getting mixed signals. I don't... Okay, people... It's fine. Wasn't there some shit about the movie 300 being fascist? Oh, the movie 300 was totally fascist. I don't think that makes Zack Snyder a fascist, though. I think, like, a better way of putting that would be that 300 unintentionally... or you could say it's intentionally. I think unintentionally incorporates... you know, narrative and aesthetic elements that are very in line with fascist ideology. Man of Steel Superman's also a bit Randian. You know what's really Randian? Fucking The Incredibles, okay? The Incredibles is super Randian. Like, the politics of The Incredibles movie... Don't get me wrong, The Incredibles, incredible movie. I love it. Not dissing it. Amazing movie. However, like, very Randian, borderline fascist. What is Randian? Like, in line with the politics of Ayn Rand, the lady we were talking about. I saw that video too, and that video is correct. Though I don't remember what the video was. But I've seen that video too, yeah. Elaborate about The Incredibles? Well, the central argument in The Incredibles is that you have superheroes who are naturally gifted, powerful people, but then the bitter and ungrateful masses, angered by their knowing inferiority, lash out at the superheroes, legally denying them the right to do, you know, to do their vigilantism. And the whole story is about the main villain, Syndrome, being a regular human who's embittered at superheroes, and in response wants to give the power of superheroism to everybody. The narrative through line of the story is essentially saying, no, the natural order is these blessed people holding these superpowers and no one else. They're the ones who deserve it. That's a lot of superhero movies. It's pretty direct and overt. That's a bit of a stretch. No, it's not. It's like, guys, don't media take me. That's literally straight up what happens in the film. The villainous line from Syndrome is, when everyone's super, no one will be. Listen to what he says. He's literally saying, I will make people equal by giving them all power. This isn't subtext. The text of the movie is that, yeah, it's bad for people to be equal in this respect. Don't get me wrong, I love the movie, and I don't think it was deliberately trying to push that message. I'm just, like, that is, nonetheless, the story of the movie, textually. It's not even, like, implied. Yes, but he did it because he was jilted by his childhood idol. Yeah, he had bad reasons for doing it, but it was still, nobody ever said at any point during the first Incredibles movie, wow, Syndrome might be a lunatic, but the idea of giving powers to all people does sound like a great way to equalize what is otherwise a very unfair situation. Nobody ever says that. He's just, his plan is treated as evilly as his methods, you know? Like, his methods were evil, undeniably, but his plan was also treated as evil. Syndrome had a point. I do think it's also worth pointing out that the reason he's embittered against Mr. Incredible isn't that dumb. You know? Like, don't get me wrong, I know it's like a childhood, like, hero stilted kind of dealio or whatever. I'm not saying, like, Mr. Incredible should have, like, had him ride around the fucking car or whatever. And all that shit, you know. But, don't meet your heroes? Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like, Syndrome, before he was Syndrome, the buddy kid, whatever his name was when he was, like, wanted to be a sidekick, you know? Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously the right thing to do there was for Mr. Incredible to go, like, yeah, you can't help me. This is, like, super dangerous, you know? But in terms of, like, the subtext... Yeah, go home, buddy, I work alone. In terms of the subtext, though, like, isn't it pretty easy to think of, like, Syndrome being the good guy in there? Like, think of it for, like, 1 second, okay? As a kid, recklessly, he wanted to be a sidekick to a big wig superhero, you know? And the superhero turns him down. Again, reasonably. The kid's like a weak human, and Mr. Incredible is not and not. Well, he's human, but I don't know how the powers work there. Whatever, you know. He's very strong. And then what if Syndrome after that was like, wow, it's kind of fucked up that I have an interest in crime fighting on a greater level than what a cop can do, but I cannot participate in vigilantism because I wasn't born with incredible powers. Like, think about that. The superheroes, by way of their birthright, are put in a different legal category. They're allowed... Okay. They're allowed to be, vigilantes, whereas regular humans aren't. Isn't that, like, weird? Like, think about living in that world, where, like, you're looking at superheroes, like, jumping around, like, breaking buildings, fighting people, leaving, like, no legal oversight, and you're like, oh, I guess they just get to do that because of their birthright, you know? In that environment, what if Syndrome was like, you know what, I'm a genius inventor, I'm going to make myself my own superhero, and you know what, I'm going to give everyone the power to be this as well. And then Syndrome looks out at the world that he lives in already, you know, and he thinks of the existing superheroes as a kind of, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like a genetic, like, inherent oppressive factor. You know what I mean? Like, their existence is fundamentally unfair. He did it out of jealousy? I'm aware that he did it out of jealousy. I'm talking about how this could be framed with him being a hero. Like, do you guys not understand that by making the guy who's pro-equality the villain, they're kind of narrativizing in a way, right? Like, I'm saying, I think that the setup for what, like, motivated his behavior could have easily been framed as a noble thing, and he could have been a noble character. But he wasn't. He was crazy and evil, and they just never pointed out that what he believed in, on a fundamental level, was good. Yeah, they do this stuff like this with environmentalists and, like, racial activists all the time. You know? All the time. They did point it out. In the first movie, they do not point out, like, hey, actually, it is really fucked up that superheroes occupy, like the highest tier of a genetic caste system. You know? Syndrome wanted to kill all the superheroes, then sell super powerful weapons to citizens so everyone is super. Killing the superheroes isn't pro-equality any more than Professor Fox. I'm not defending his killing all superheroes bit. I'm defending the idea that humans should be made equal to supervillains, or superheroes. Which, by the way, he kind of succeeded in? God damn it. His technology was pretty powerful. Also, a critical difference here is that Professor Flower's bias against white people is essentialist, which is bad because white people aren't essentially any different from any other group of people. The superheroes in The Incredibles are essentially different than other people. That is a meaningful difference, you know? It's not like an ethnic or sexual or gender or racial or religious difference where it's just socioeconomic stuff piled on top of non-existent or very minor differences. The superheroes are superheroes. They're demigods. Do you think Killmonger was also vilified the same way in the Black Panther movie? Yeah, it's fucked up. The Killmonger is right. Didn't they do the same thing in Korra? Yes, they do this all the time. They do this constantly. They have a villain motivated by real inequality with real grievances, but then he takes it too far and becomes the villain, and they have to be defeated by some liberal representation of the status quo, you know? Or in the case of Black Panther, a representation of moderate reform as opposed to radical reform. Yes, Killmonger was presented more sympathetically, but he was still presented as a villain. Killmonger wanted to kill the children of his oppressors. Yeah, the writers do that on purpose. Don't you think it's interesting that one of the most recurring villain narratives is a person is embittered by real grievances, but they go crazy and too far? It's literally like the anti-white retaliation thing, except in a story. You know, like what do they call it? Fear of retribution? It's like Fear of Retribution, except like in a movie. God, you can never dodge that reliably. In BP, they realize his grievances fully without the genocide, though. Yeah, no, they don't realize it fully. Wait, nothing happened in Black Panther to address Killmonger's fundamental problems. You've debated with Killmonger's exact mindset, real thing, like 100 times? Yeah, with, like, online internet lefties. So that doesn't mean it's representative of the whole movement of, like, radical reform or, like, radical change to racial biases here. They built a basketball court in Oakland, yeah. They begin to share their techno. El Barrett, I ask you, how the fuck does a technologically superior country sharing vibranium tech with the United States military-industrial complex help black people in Oakland? How the fuck does that change anything? Like, hey, here's some tech that lets you shoot tanks big. Have a basketball court or whatever, you know? How would you handle the Korra inequality? Dude, the Korra inequality shit is so... It's the Avatar universe in general. Like, it is pretty fucked. The problem is, like, how do you solve that, right? Because it's established in... Zahir should have been the protagonist? Well, yeah, he was just right, yeah. So, Zahir's thing... Well, no. Okay, Zahir wouldn't have fixed the problem with, like, some people being benders and some people not being benders, right? Zahir just wanted to kill off the Avatar. Are you still debating Taftaj? I guess. I didn't know if that was still going to happen, but I'm not, like, opposed to it. Oh, shit. I gotta do donos soon, and then I'll turn it to TTS. Is any story with a genetically superior class of humans inherently fascist? No, I just don't think you should make the villain of that setting a person who is embittered by inequality by that group. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that a little bit weird? Like, in concept? Oh, come on. But people IRL do take retribution too far all the time. Look at Africa. What the fuck do you mean, look at Africa? The continent of Africa? XMen does anti-fascist stories all the time. Yeah, X-Men tends to be, like, pretty progressive, I guess. Have I looked at Africa? I've never been to Africa. Maybe one day. The city of Africa. The writers gestured at a wider anarchism was here. Okay, if you want to take... Okay, like, if you want to talk about this for real, okay? So here's the thing, okay? In the world of Avatar, the real Avatar, not the blue people, okay? In the world of Avatar, some people are born with the ability to bend an element based off of... I think it's their culture. I don't think it's their bloodline, literally. The impression that I always got was that which element you bend comes down to, like, your spiritual connection to the part of the world and the culture that you connect with, more so than your literal bloodline. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna say, like, cultural inheritance, more so than, like, just hard genetic lineage. But anyway, so some people in the world get... It's not really specified. Whatever the case is, let's just... Because later, a bunch of airbenders are made out of people who aren't airbenders. Remember? In Korra, the air acolytes became airbenders when there was that big spiritual realignment. And some of those people were not at all genetically connected. So it's like a spirit thing. Basically, there's like 4 elements, and the spirits gift you the ability to use them. Okay? So, yeah, whatever. And different cultures have different, like, numbers of people who can use them. The air culture, everyone could airbend. I always got the impression that was because they were very spiritually connected, not because there was anything, like, different about them on a fundamental level. Like, the water, fire, and earth cultures were, you know, like, you want to be a baker, be a baker. But in the air culture, everyone was a monk. And it's like a spiritual thing, so... Yeah, you grow up in a monastery, so it's probably gonna lead to some greater degree of spiritual connection. Yeah. But anyway, but like, let's say, you know, outside of like deep spiritual devotion, only like 1 in 10 people have the ability to bend, right? So a bender in the world of the Avatar is overwhelmingly stronger than a person who can't bend. A powerful earth, water, air, or firebender could, just from the power levels that you reach in that show, could basically just like waltz through a city, killing just an endless number of non-bending people. They're like unstoppable. It's ridiculous how strong they are compared to like normal people. Obviously, if they're a weak bender, they can't. But like, there are people in the Avatar universe who are crazy, 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 crazy strong. In Korra, tech gets the level they can do some shit. Okay, even in Korra, the guns they had in those battleships were just firebenders shooting into metal tubes. Just work with me here, okay? Look, the fact of the matter is, if you're a person who can make 100-pound rocks fly at a will, you can kill people from a distance in a time where other people can't reliably, okay? If you can draw up rock walls to deflect like arrow shots from bows, like you're in a pretty good position from like a military position. Yeah, and if you're a very strong bender like Toph or Ozai, you're like a planetary threat. if you're one of the really strong benders, you're a fucking planetary threat. You're like legit. If you ever lose your mind, like the fucking Avengers have to show up to stop you, okay? Yeah, it's dangerous out there. The reason I'm establishing this is so you can all deal with the moral conundrum here, okay? The moral conundrum is, like, what do you do about this? So, like, imagine you're concerned with equality. It's kind of fucked up that just, like, randomly a small portion of the population is way the fuck stronger and also has more job opportunities. Because benders use their bending ability for jobs nonstop in the Avatar world. You know? Like, if you can move earth or water or produce air or fire, like, you can do a lot of cool things for industry. You know, it's very useful. Oh, we actually made it to the goddamn fog wall. I'm asking if that's a valid solution to you in a world where people aren't equal. It's not about... Listen, the reason you kill the Psychers in the Imperium isn't because they're not equal. You kill them because if they wanted to, they could destroy a fucking planet. Without proper teaching, the Psychers are just going to go insane, kill everyone around them, and then kill themselves. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's, yeah. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with that one. No, I don't think that the Enlightenment started, like, Western civilization. I'm talking about most of the characteristics that people use to define modern Western ideal supremacy stem from Enlightenment values. How does this apply to Force-sensitive people in Star Wars? Okay, can we stop? Don't worry about it.